I recently reviewed the DS920 Plus, and within the Synology DSM software, there is the Synology Surveillance Station. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the software, how it works, how to install it, what features are available within it. If you are not subscribed already to this channel, please do consider doing so. I release new videos every week, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much for your support. It's always appreciated. A couple of things to note before we jump into the video. I just want to call them out. As I mentioned, I'm using the DS920 Plus, and in this unit there is no HDMI output available. So if you want to be able to view a live feed from it like you do with most NVRs, you're not going to be able to do so. There are a couple of specific models that Synology have that do have HDMI outputs, and they're available to view on their website. The other thing is that most Synology drives you buy come with a couple of licenses. So if you're only looking to set up a couple of cameras, then there's no need to buy anything additional. However, if you're looking to set up more, the links for the licensing and the costs associated to them are in the description below. They're linked to my Amazon affiliate account, so feel free to check them out. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's start by logging into the Synology NAS. So we've got the IP address. If you haven't set your NAS up yet, I do have another video which I'll pop a link up on the screen now and in the description below if you're not sure how to get it set up. Really easy and simple tutorial to follow. So let's quickly log in here. So once the Synology is loaded in, you're logged in, the first thing we will do is actually install Surveillance Station. So we will go to Package Center and actually just search for Surveillance Station. It's actually easier, so we click on here. You can actually just click the install button, but I'm just going to show you down here what it is. So we're looking at version 8.2.8 and we just click install. So what we need to do here is just give that a minute and let that go off and install. Installation settings, so if you want to change some of the ports or the alias names, you can do that here if you want to do so, but we'll just leave it as is. Click next. We want to run after the installation, click apply, and that's it. It's going to go off and install. So we'll give that a minute or so, we'll let that go off and install, and then we'll have a look at the Surveillance Station itself. The Surveillance Station is now installed, so it's just a simple case of clicking open. So we go ahead and click open, and now this will load the Synology Surveillance Station. It's going to give you the steps, what you can do, so let's just click through these. We're not really interested in this. And we will come back to this shortly in terms of what this looks like just here, and what home mode does as well. So let's just minimize that for now. First things first, I think let's start by looking at the system. So in here you've got the information about the NAS itself, what storage it's using and how much it's using. There's 3.5 terabytes worth, the network it's using, so I actually have a bonded connection set up, so it's going to use that bonded connection. What time it's using, so if you want to synchronize it with an NTP server or you want to set it manually, that's up to you. And the firmware upgrade option, so you can get it to auto update if you want. Next things next, the most important and crucial thing when using the Synology Surveillance Station is the licensing. So I mentioned this earlier in the intro. If you're not sure how many licenses you have available to you, it says it right here. So your default license, you have the number here, so you have 2 licenses, so you can input 2 cameras, and there's no expiration date for this. So it's quite simple and straightforward. If you ever want to add any additional licenses, I've added my Amazon affiliate links in the description below, so have a look at those and that will show you how much the licenses cost, and you can add them in here just by clicking add. Next we're going to take a look at IP cameras. So within here is where you would actually set up your camera itself. So I've not added any cameras in here before. I have 2 cameras plugged into my network. One is a Ubiquiti camera and one is a Hikvision camera. So just to show you a couple of different methods, we're going to add a camera. So then what you need to do is just type in the username. So I've actually already created the username on this camera. It's a bit out of scope for this, but I've created one on the Hikvision camera. You can log into the interface directly. When you type in the right username and password, you would expect to see something like this pop up. Then we go ahead and click next. And there we go. So we have it shows us down here what some of the sample settings are. So we click finish. Now we can right click and go in and edit. So let's have a quick look at what comes in the editing settings for each individual camera. So you have your information here, which you have your username and password. You go across to the video and it shows you what video format you want to use. So we can even use H.265, which uses less bandwidth. The high quality, and this is where you pick your settings. So We can go, this is a 4K camera, so you can go up to 3840 to 2160. At the moment it's giving us 4 frames per second. I want to go to 20 frames per second. Bitrate control is variable and the image quality is the highest. Keep in mind the higher resolution you do set up, the more memory it's going to take, the more bandwidth it's going to need to send the video across. So just keep that one in mind. If the functionality is there, you can use the speaker as an audio for the output for the camera. RSTP and RTP settings if you want to set those up. And then we go across to recording settings. So if you are recording motion only, you can pre-record events. So you can go 10, 20, 30 seconds, even a minute before the event, minute after the event. If you want to keep files for a specific amount of time, you can do that. And that's set up here. And you can limit the archive folder here also as well. It tells you where it's going to record it. So surveillance volume. The schedule, so this is what I was talking about earlier. So at the moment we are doing a continuous recording throughout, and then we look at the stream. It's balanced, so the quality the image quality setting, so it's not full HD but it's not low bandwidth either, and then also advanced as well. So there's some other settings in here. We go into live view. Again, when you look at it from a live view, you can either go high quality, balanced, low quality. Again, bear in mind the bandwidth. Same again with the mobile. And advanced also as well. This one you can enable video buffering if you want, but I don't think we really want to enable that at this point. Optimization, so you've got time sync settings, so it goes by camera. So depending on what sort of cameras you've got and the settings it uses and how much information it can pull from the camera, you can either use the camera settings itself, so you log into the specific camera and then pull the settings from there, or you can use the surveillance station settings. Or obviously you have some pull ones here as well in time. And then on-screen display you can enable or disable, so you can enable and then put all modes. So again, it's entirely up to you however you want this to be set up. You have a lot of granularity in this. Then we look at video orientation. Again, at the moment this is all set up by my camera, so there's no need to change any of this. And if you want to automatically restart your camera periodically, you can do that as well. Last but not least, we have motion detection, so you can actually set this up for smart events. So again, this is currently using the camera settings, so anything you have set up in the camera in terms of motion, it's going to use those. But I'm actually going to switch this to surveillance station. So we want 90% sensitivity, 10% threshold, and whether you want to ignore short-lived motion. So if you see something zip across the screen, like this image is just looking at the sky at the moment, if you want it to not pick up a bird, for example, when it's 2 seconds on the screen, you can do that. So anything under 2 seconds, it doesn't pick it up. The other thing also is if there's cars driving by, like there's so many different scenarios. To do this, then you edit the detection area. So this is currently the detection area. Please ignore the time and date, it's just for an example. And then you can see here that you can choose your detection area, so we can have something specific. So if we click the minus and we want to move, say, this side of the window, we don't want to detect anything, we only want to detect this side, you can do that. Or if you want to detect the whole thing, you can do that also as well, and just click save. Close your window here and click save. That's really our first camera setup. So if we go for a second camera now the way I'm going to set the second one up is through an RSTP feed, purely on the fact is that Ubiquiti don't support ONVIF, so we're not able to use that. So if we click next, and if we actually go down to here and we change user defined, you can see it has RSTP streaming. So for the RSTP address, you type in your username, colon, password, and then you type in the @ symbol, the IP address, and then colon, port number, and also the video path, sorry. Now, to get the video path, again, I log directly into the camera itself to have a look at the video path, and we can just go ahead and test the connection. And there you go, you can see that's up and running as well. So from what I can see, that was fairly simple and easy to set up. You can see your username and password here at the moment, which I'll probably, but when you actually go forward and try and go back to it, it's actually starred out. So let's click next. So we click next. Again, you have the settings here to be able to pre-record, post-record from a motion. We click next. So it's all set up here from this side. So you've got your IP address, what brand it is, you've defined that one, the settings, the RSTP feed, and what the high quality and balanced and low bandwidth settings are. So we click finish. Actually, one thing I'm going to quickly do is I didn't actually change the name. So let's quickly go here so we know which cameras are which. So we've got the G3 Flex there. As I showed you earlier, that the camera blanks the username and password, or blanks the password out anyway. So that's there, and on this one then we can just click save. So what we've done so far, just a quick recap, is we've set up the surveillance station, and we've gone ahead and added in 2 of our cameras. One good thing, just looking on the interface at the front, is it shows you how much space it's occupying at the moment. So I've just set these up so they're not obviously taking up that much space. So just looking at the general interface, you have the ability to add and delete cameras and edit cameras here. So actually the edit function allows you to edit a single camera and a batch. So if you want to edit multiple cameras at once, you can actually just click edit batch, and it will allow you to change the device settings that are similar. You can enable and disable cameras, so you can actually set them up and then go ahead and disable them if you don't want to use them for the time being. And the configuration, so if you want to take a backup of your configuration, you can just export it, give it a name. So let's just do Synology Surveillance Station backup, and what destination we want to save it in the surveillance folder. So we click next, and we want to take the configuration for that one, and we click finish. And there we go. So that's now gone off and saved it on the NAS drive as well. But that is really all there is to see in this point. So let's close this one. I think the next thing we want to take a look at is the live view. So we go into live view here. You can see we have the 2 cameras set up, so we're using the 2 licenses that we have. Inside here, if you had a PTZ camera, you have the PTZ control in the top left just here. That is just here. And then you can choose your layout really. So you can have 2 cameras, 4 cameras, all the way up to, I don't know how many cameras you could probably add. There you go. So you can choose all the way up to 100 cameras, I think. I think you have to have a fairly large screen for that one. So you can have them rotating, and you can have the ones that trigger an event. So when there's an event that pops up, for example motion detection, that one will be the one that comes to the front. So there's quite a few. You have an EMAP, so if you wanted to upload an EMAP, which allows you to then place the cameras on a map as well, you can do that. Once we've done that, there's a few settings down here that if you want to have a look at. So let's go to alerts, and you can go to manage. So at the moment we have nothing set up for these, so what I'm going to do is just tick alert here, tick tamper detection, and we'll tick these 2 as well. So live view analytics, we'll have a look at that shortly. It's not actually available in this web browser, we'd have to download the desktop client. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. So let's save this. So now we're going to get alerts. Every time there's a motion detected or a tampering detection, we will get those alerts. And then if we go have a quick look at the alert panel, so that's just now, literally a few seconds ago, we've got motion detected, so we can go back and actually play that. And let's see what the motion is. I think it's just the clouds moving. I don't think there's any motion in there. Oh, there we go. Yep, there's a bird that just moves just there. So that's the motion that was detected. Stream profile. So this shows you by camera settings. So you can actually change it. At the moment it's set to, so you have the stream profile, which is set by camera settings at the moment. Patrol. So if you have a camera and you want it to be panning around, you can set the patrol settings on here. Digital output and audio output. So not a lot on there at the moment. So if we dive into one of the cameras specifically themselves, so let's just get rid of that alert panel. So this is one of the cameras themselves. So a couple of things here, if you ever wanted to look back at your recordings, you have the recording settings here, recording application, so you can go back and see what has happened on those cameras today. You can click on them, you can view what has happened. You can see the ones that actually say recording at the moment are the ones that are currently recording. So we can close those, and you have timeline view as well, so you can actually scroll through and go back to see what there was, and that will take you backwards. So it's quite good that you can go through a specific date and time, so you can choose a date and then scroll to the exact time you want. Makes it a little bit easier, and then you can go to the recording settings and pull the relevant recording you need. As I mentioned a little while back, we have the live view analytics. So this is actually the web client itself. So what I wanted to have a look at on here, so apologies this one isn't as zoomed in as the other one. So we want to have a quick look at IP cameras. When you go into IP camera, at the bottom just behind me basically there's a live view analytics button, so you can pick the analytics type that you want to set. So motion, I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're listed here and you can have a little look at what's going on. So for motion detection you can add a zone, and then it will give you the whole, again you can just select and choose whatever you want in terms of your zone. and then look at the simulation if you want. So one other thing I want to show you is Application Center. So Application Center within the Synology Surveillance Station. So within the Synology NAS itself, it has a bunch of applications, but actually within the surveillance station itself, it has another set of applications. So if we go to all here, you can see there are actually quite a few here, and there are some really useful ones. So just to name a couple, you have edge recording. So actually if you have the SD card functionality on your camera, it can actually record on there. So if the connection breaks or something happens, it can send them back. It has the IP speaker, so if you have a speaker nearby, you can use that. Joysticks, so for any third-party joystick that you want to control the PTZ camera on, you can use that within here. Live broadcast, so actually you can use the CCTV camera to live broadcast even straight to YouTube if you wanted to do so. And then some of the PC utilities down here, you can look at the evidence integrity authenticator. So actually Synology can actually authenticate video hasn't been tampered with, which is really good. Obviously that is very specific for use cases, but you have that option. The Synology Surveillance Station client, so which we are currently using at the moment, that's what's actually here. You have just behind me, you have DS Cam and you have Live Cam. Those two are basically mobile apps. So DS Cam allows you to view your cameras at any point and get notifications. Live Cam actually allows you to use your mobile phone as a CCTV camera, which again is another really good feature. You can pull out your phone, turn it into live cam mode, and that will then send the recording back to your Synology NAS. Again, very specific use case, or if you wanted to record something that you really need, then you can use that feature just there. We're going to take a look at the DS Cam shortly, but just before I show you that, the last thing I want to show you on the station is notifications. Now, this is going to be something crucial for you when you get this set up, if you want any push notifications or text messages or whatever you need. You can enable email notifications, SMS, push services. So we want to make sure that if there is a motion detected at any certain points, we want to be able to get that. So I'm actually going to show you my iPhone is currently logged in to the DS Cam. So that's here, and you can send a test message, and you can see that test message popping up on your screen now. Then we have the rules. So now this is where you can choose what you want to see. So if you want to know about connection lost, connection resumed, new device added, device deleted, recorded failed, entering and leaving home mode, which I'll come back to in a minute. And there's all of these down here. So as I mentioned previously, this is very configurable and very granular. You can get it to do whatever you want, really. You can customize it to your specific needs. Let's have a quick look at the DS Cam app. So we log straight in. You can see we have the multi-view, so we have one camera at the top, one camera at the bottom. You can actually see the blue lines down the bottom here. I can seek back through, and you can see the motion that actually happens at that point. So there is some sort of motion on one of the cameras, and that's what shows you just there, which is really good. Along the bottom, you have some settings that you can choose, and if we click the three buttons at the top, you can choose the kind of settings you want. So you can have them individually, you can have 4, you can have 6, it's entirely up to you. Then we go to the 3 bars in the top left hand corner. We have multi-view, which we're just on. Then we can go to cameras, and you can see the different cameras that you can go on there, and you can actually show basic information if you want to have a look at it, or you can actually disable the camera. So that's that there. You can scroll back through your recording, so similar to what I showed you earlier on the Synology NAS itself, you have the recordings, any snapshots you might take, any notifications. So this actually shows you all the motion. So if it says here there's motion detected, it's picked something up, again likely probably just a bird in the sky, so we'll leave that for now. And you can see at the bottom just here, this is the notification message that I sent earlier. There's home mode. So what home mode will allow you to do is actually tell your Synology device when you're home or not. And then we just look at the licenses. So if you want to be able to add licenses from the phone itself, you can do that just here and type in the license key. So we can go back there. And that is really it. So you can go in the notifications, which is just here. You can set the push notifications. You can mute for a certain amount of time, do not disturb for a certain amount of time, and notification items from each of them. You can set that here. So the app is quite easy and friendly to use too. The last thing I wanted to cover with you today is the home mode functionality. So if you go into the applications, you'll see something called home mode. I think this is actually a really good feature and could be useful for a lot of people if they actually configure this and understand the way it works. But what home mode does is it uses geofencing to know when you're away from your house. Now, say for example, you are recording motion only or motion detection only. So every time there's a motion triggered, it records and stores on your Synology drive. But when you're actually away from your home, you want it to record continuously. So when you enter home mode, you can change the setting type that what it's doing. So you can go from motion only to continuous recording, or even continuous recording to motion only. So if we go into settings, you want to enable the setting of the recording. You want to enable the setting of the notification, and what that will allow you to do is go to recording. Let's just click save there. Go to recording, and now we can change it. So we can change it to motion only if we want to change it. So for this period here, we want to change to motion only. Even if you enter home mode during this point, it will stay continuous, but during this time, it will move to motion only. So you can choose. Again, very configurable. Notifications, again, you can change it. So if it's only sending you a push notification, you can get it to send you an SMS or email. It's entirely up to you. So home mode is probably definitely one of those things you want to look into when you're setting up your Synology NAS. If you want to have a further deep dive on this, or if you want a tutorial specifically on home mode, let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this video useful. If so, drop me a comment down below and hit the like button. If you haven't already, do consider hitting that subscribe button. I will be releasing more videos around the Synology Surveillance Station, so keep your eyes peeled for those. All the links used to the products in this video are in the description below, so feel free to check them out. This is Inside Wire, and I'll see you in the next one.